Welcome to Comic Movie 10, where you get insight into everything comic book movies and television related in 10 minutes or less. I'm Joe Kane.
And I'm Dan Kane. No relation. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and share and keep up with us at hecklerkane.com.
On this episode, we're going to be talking about the live-action versions of Brainiac, and did Krypton do it justice?
You know what? That was the most recent version of Brainiac that we saw.
Right.
It was in the 2018 version of show Krypton that just finished up recently.
Right.
And it was played by Blake Ritson, who did a version like we hadn't seen before.
Right.
So what I want to do is I want to just kind of take a step back. Where did Brainiac come from?
Okay.
All right. His very first appearance in comics was in Action Comics number 242.
Yes.
And that was in 1958 in July. Basically, this is where he was invented and he was created.
Right.
He was his main adversary has always been Superman.
Right.
Because he comes from a planet that's destroying Krypton, or he comes to Krypton rather to destroy it.
Right.
In some iterations, he is also from Krypton, created by Kryptonians.
Right.
So there's a little bit of variation there as to where Brainiac has come from.
Right.
All right, so we've seen him through many different things, through a lot of different animated things. The first television sort of appearance of Brainiac was in 1966 in The New Adventures of Superman, and that was the first time that we saw him.
Right. And Brainiac, he's always been one of the most known, most popular Superman villains.
Yeah, but we haven't gotten a really good live-action version of him yet.
No, that's true.
And I say that with real candor, because not candor, with candor, because he's affectionately a great foe for Superman,
right?
Who is someone that we want to see go head to head with Superman.
Absolutely.
But I feel like we truly haven't gotten a great version of Brainiac.
Not in live action.
No. He's been in a couple of different cartoons, like I said, throughout the years. The first one that I really noticed when I was growing up was in 1996, the Superman the Animated Series.
Right.
And that's where I first saw Brainiac myself, and then I went back and researched and looked where he came from,
right,
and everything else.
And me as well. And the funny thing is, we've talked about before how Batman, Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent have looked alike in the cartoons back then.
Exactly.
When I looked at Brainiac then, I just kept picturing what Mr. Freeze looked like in Batman.
Sure.
It was very similar.
Very similar look.
Yeah.
Very similar look. That was the same look in the Justice League cartoon series in 2000. Help me out here. 2003. That's really where we started to see him a little more, and he started to become a regular figure on television.
Right.
However, we're not into the live action yet.
Right.
The very first iteration of live action was Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. James Masters.
Yeah.
He came out on Smallville.
Right.
And he played a version of Brainiac that had come to Earth. And now Smallville was kind of renowned for doing a bunch of comic book iterations of people without really getting into what they really look like.
Right.
And just being like, well, this guy is this. They did Doomsday, and Doomsday just kind of looked like a human.
Right.
So this was right along the lines with that.
Yeah.
That Brainiac, it was just James Masters.
Yeah, it wasn't Brainiac. Not to me.
Yeah, not to me either. And it was kind of disheartening because I knew the kind of the history at that point of Brainiac, and I really wanted to see something live action, and I was excited to see that he had that James Masters was playing it. I liked him from the Buffy series.
Right.
So I was like, okay, this might be cool. I did expect a British accent, however.
Yeah, but at times it seemed like no attempt to emulate what we've come to think of as Brainiac.
Exactly.
It was like, here's the guy.
The only thing that he had was like, he could morph into different things, and that is one of the powers that Brainiac has had throughout the years.
Right.
They did a lot of things with his fingers being extended into these black, like ooze type of controlling things
that would go into people's
heads and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was from the comics, yes. But the look of him, I mean, it was, like I said, it was James Masters standing there reciting lines.
Right.
And no offense to James Masters, but it was just not what I thought of as Brainiac.
Right. We saw versions of Brainiac 5 on Supergirl.
Yes, that's really kind of the next time that we saw a live-action version of it. Although James Masters did come back in Smallville to play Brainiac 5 later on in the series.
Right.
You know, it was still the same iteration of him just kind of standing there, looking like James Masters.
Yeah.
Getting back to Supergirl, I'm sorry, I totally cut you off. So go for it.
Well, it's not the Brainiac that we're even thinking of.
No.
You know, this is a friend, not a foe. He's on the team. He comes back from the future, basically, with Mon-El to warn them of the world killers.
Yes.
And he's a level 10 intellect, or
level 12.
Level 12 intellect, and again.
Well, this is also the iteration of Brainiac 5. Brainiac 5 was a friend to the Justice League,
right?
Eventually becoming a one of the founding members of the League that's in the future. Mm-hmm. The Legion. The Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah.
Sorry. If you could tell, I was stuttering trying to figure that out. The Legion of Superheroes is what he led. And he came back from the future to help out Superman and to help out the rest of the Justice League.
Right.
That was kind of Brainiac 5. That was the evolution of where Brainiac eventually became.
Right.
So we did see one other iteration in Supergirl a little earlier on in the series in 2016. And they called her Indigo. And she was Brainiac 8.
Okay, right.
And this was played by Laura Vandervoort. Sorry, Laura. It was a blue version of what we always expected as the green version of of Brainiac. It was a female blue version of Brainiac.
Right.
And Brainiac 8, which was now again a foe.
Right. But still not the Brainiac that we're coming to look for. And this brings us to Krypton.
Yes.
This is he doesn't look like Brainiac at first. Even.
No.
He spends most of the series.
Well, the idea of how they came about doing this was actually very cool.
Right.
They had Brainiac coming, and he was kind of sending his being and his intellect into another human being.
Right.
So he was a human for half of it, but that is also coming straight from the comics.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as the series unfolded, we finally saw in the last 2 episodes the first thing that ever really actually looked like what we know Brainiac to be on live action television.
Yes, he was green. He had the 3 dots as I believe on his forehead, and then the 3 on his chest also, that really looked like what we would expect from the comics.
Yeah, and it was exciting for me because, again, that's the first time that we've ever seen anything like that in live action. It's kind of like what you look for when we were kids as animated series, is things that we read in the comics, and now everything that's coming out now, you're starting to see more and more of those things brought back, and this was one thing that was just exciting to see on live action.
Yeah, like I said, Blake Ritson played the part of Brainiac in this, and it was cool because he got to play basically 2 different characters, because Brainiac took over this the voice of Rao. Right. And the voice of Rao was also from the comics, in the Krypton comics, with the history of Krypton. So what this did is this took the background that he was coming from another place to entrap the city of Kandor. Right. In the glass jars that we stereotypically see, and he takes them back to his ship and preserves them for all time. Right. Now, with that being said, in different iterations, like I said, Brainiac has been a collector of worlds, or he has been a failed science experiment of Kryptonians. In this iteration, he's a collector of worlds, which I think is a little more interesting to me, that he is this alien presence that even the Kryptonians, who are technologically advanced and very worldly, can't even control. Right.
No, it's definitely the version that I prefer.
Correct.
And it was exciting to see, again, the ship, so to speak, coming to collect Kandor.
Yeah.
And it was just something that we haven't seen before as far as Brainiac goes.
Yeah. I would love to see Brainiac in a movie version. I'd love to see that come out in maybe the Superman 3 or two or whatever number we're up to, because we've seen him in so many movies now. I'm drawing a blank. The next Superman movie, it would be great to see Brainiac come out.
Absolutely.
He is definitely a good foe for Superman.
Yeah.
He has also been taken as an iteration that he was also had taken over Lex Luthor. So we already have the established Lex Luthor in this universe in the DCEU. So it would be cool to see him maybe manifest that way also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Check us out next time on Comic Movie 10.
We love bringing you these episodes, and we need your help to keep them coming.
Please don't forget to share and subscribe, and keep up with us at hecklakane.com.